welcome everybody. As you're still joining us, welcome. And we'll just let you know, this webinar is being recorded. So thank you very much for sharing. Those of you watching on demand, welcome to you as well. We'll get started because we've got 1 hour together. So let's jump into it. Welcome to Introduction to DISC webinar. This is about understanding personality types to improve patient-team communication, both patients and your teams, the communication in primary care. Firstly, we would like to acknowledge, in the spirit of reconciliation, the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here today. My name is Anne-Lone Dalhoff. I'm the Marketing Director at Team Medical, and tonight I'm wearing a different cap, which is that I'm also a certified mindset and leadership coach, and that is the hat I'm wearing tonight. We also have Jana from our marketing team here helping us out, so at any point you can chat to her and ask questions. At Team Medical, we're committed to providing quality education to support your practice. Today's webinar is about the DISC model. First, a bit of housekeeping before we get into it. So it's great to see a lot of people signing. There was a lot that wanted to join, but we have a cap today because we're using breakout rooms. So we really encourage you to lean in to learn today, because you might know from yourself that we learn better by hearing, by understanding, by teaching, by asking questions. So please take notes and interact as well if you're watching this on demand. Please use the chat box. So right now, I would love for you to find the chat box to make sure it works for you. Please open the chat now and say a quick hi and where you're from. Then you know it's working and we know it's working. As you heard, it's being recorded and we'll share the link with you tomorrow. And it will also be added to our events page on our website, teammed.com.au. I'll share a presentation, an informative presentation about DISC. Then we'll use the breakout room feature so that you can actually have interactive learning, reflection. And then we bring back, and there's a Q&A session for any questions about the model or how to apply it back to myself. And at that point, we'll do the same thing in the chat. Please write your questions. And Jana, because I can't see the chat, have we got anybody saying hi yet? And
yep, we have quite a few people.
Perfect. That's all I want to know, that the chat is working. We will keep going, and you keep saying hi as you come in later. At the end of the session, there will be a survey link, and we would really appreciate if you take that minute while we're going at the end to fill it out. It allows us to improve our webinars and it delivers relevant content for those joining us next time. So behavioral profiling, what is that about? What does it mean? It's really about understanding personality types. It's to improve patient and team communication, get better outcomes. And it's used in big business. So why shouldn't we let it add value to us in primary care as well? The DISC model itself, it originates back in 1928, but especially over the last 80 years, it has been extensively researched. It has been expanded into actual assessments and many different tools. There are many behavioral profiling tools out there, and DISC is only one of them. But we present it here tonight, and we use it internally, and it's widely used because of the simplicity, and it's very easy to apply. There's a few fundamental principles that I'll share with you now. Each one of us here tonight, each one of you watching on demand, each person you've ever come across, whether it's family, friends, your co-workers, your patients, we all have a preferred style of thinking, communicating, and behaving. And I hope you'll be nodding and thinking of situations where you're like, that was so clear what I tried to tell, and clearly the other person did not receive it the same way. We all have a different way of thinking, communicating, and behaving. And the DISC model is based on the principle that we have two axes, and I'll show them in a moment, that we can either be driven by more external energy, often called extroverts, or more introvert energy. And I'll explain it later. So that's on the one axis, we've got extrovert versus introvert. And on the other dimension, we've got whether we're results and outcome focused or more focused on the process and the steps. And that create 4 quadrants that we'll dive into today. As we lean in to understand each other's preferences, it creates better leadership. It creates better communication with our patients and relationships internally as well. Very important disclaimer. The aim is not to create labels. It is not to put each other into boxes or start calling each other names and say like, oh, you're so C. That is not the purpose. What we're teaching you here tonight is for you to get an understanding and yourself be able to apply all of these different styles to the people you interact with. I hope that makes sense and that you understand how important that is. What's very well documented is that diverse teams create better results. So it's not about only hiring people that think like you. It might seem easy at first, but we miss out on lots of things. So diverse teams create better results. And then finally, we often have a preference to one of the 4 I'll share with you. It doesn't mean that we only do that. We can develop our skills in all 4 areas to improve the outcomes with a range of personalities. And I hope that's why you're here listening. So the outcome of today's webinar, I will share some typical characteristics of these D, I, S, and C energies so that you can recognize them in everyday situation. When we recognize it, we can adjust communication to the one at the receiving end, and that gives better results, but as well resonance. Remember right now when you speak with someone where you get the sense, yeah, they get me. That's what we want patients to feel. No matter if they're all different, we want each one of them to feel, yeah, he or she gets me. The little note in the corner, if you really want to go deeper into this for training and assessment, please do contact a third-party provider. So Jana, I'm curious to hear, have you been working a bit on the breakout rooms? Have we got them ready?
It's all ready to go.
Perfect. Before I dive in and share each one of these and get you to lean in, we're just going to test the breakout rooms because we will use them later, and we're just going to do a quick, easy, fun test. So Jana has sent us out into breakout rooms. You'll do that very shortly. There'll be 4 or 5 people in each room. Right now, your cameras and microphones are turned off, but please, when you come into the breakout room, turn your camera and microphone on. It doesn't matter what's in the background, what's happening, if it's kids or, you know, a messy room. We all know that learning and sharing is better. So please turn your camera and microphone on just for the breakout rooms. The breakout rooms are not recorded. And the chat you do is not recorded. So what happens in the room stays in the room. So thanks for sharing openly with each other there. At any point in the breakout room, you can leave it by pushing the return button. If you by mistake hit the leave button and leave the whole webinar, just please come back in and Jana will let you back in. If you have any technical issues, again, just come back here and Jana and myself will help you. So that's what will happen. Now to the very important task. What are you going to talk about in this breakout room? You will have a quick 5-minute round the table. It's really just to test this is working. Each one of you just has half a minute to share with the other 2 things. So write down right now for yourself your name and role and your favorite ice cream flavor. This is just for fun. It is literally to make sure all of you in that room can unmute the microphone, can share with each other. Any questions? Then put them in the chat right now. So Jana can see any questions or if we're good to go. So this is just a little test of the breakout room. Quickly share your name, role, and favorite ice cream. And if you're done super fast, just come back here again. Okay, any questions, Jana, or should we?
There were a few, but I think we should be ready to go.
Fantastic. Okay,
Just a
have fun in the
second.
breakout rooms, learn, and see you back here very soon. Thanks everyone for leaning in. For some people, this might have been the first time they tried a breakout room. For some, they ended up nearly alone in a room. It's all good. Thanks for coming back. And some of you that couldn't do it, when we do the disc one, I'll continue content here. So let's dive further into the content. This is the moment where you lean in. Here is the model. DISC. It is short for the 4 letters we see here, D, I, S, and C. And I really encourage you, if you've got a notepad, somewhere where you're taking notes, whether it's on your phone, the backside of a napkin, right now, make that little grid we've got here and give some space to yourself, because as I go through them, we really want you to write down names of people that come to mind as typical that energy. So as you see the top and the bottom, it is whether we're extroverted or introverted. At the top, we've got extroverted. So D and I are the people that are naturally more extroverted, get energy from other people, from talking. The S and C are more introverted, more thinking, getting energy from their own space, maybe prefer more their own space. Then we've got whether you're more outcome and results focused, which is D and C, or more journey and process, which is I and S. So they are the key dimensions. Now we will go into it. Jana, you can't see yourself in the middle of my screen, right? I'm just checking because, yeah, that's good. It's a little role play I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you all 4 types. And while I'm going through them, please note down people that come to mind. It could be in your team, in your family, your neighbors, your friends from school. It is much easier for you afterwards to remember them if you have a name linked to it. We start with a D. Some people waiting for a lift. Downtown Sydney, for the sake of it. The D energy person is pushing the button. We all know the lift is not coming any faster, but the D energy keeps pushing that button. Lift arrives, the doors open. Who walks in first? D. What is the first thing this D person does when they've come into the lift? That's right. They start pushing the button. There's still more people coming through, but the D energy is pushing that button. They have places to go, important things to do. So a typical D energy are the people that fill the room. They are often leaders. They're often business owners. Very often, or actually always, you will know when there's a D energy in the room. They take space and they feel important. And tonight, during this Watch on Demand, you'll see later, I'm making fun of all 4. So it's coming from a loving heart. It is so that it's easier to recognize. The bullet points you see there for D energy, and you will see this in the Watch on Demand as well. D energy see the big picture. They need things to be short and to the point. So when you write, please just do bullet points. They love making fast decisions. It's all about results, and they can be quite intense in their presence. Right now, take a moment, write down who do you know that comes across as quite dominant, fast, to the point. Let's keep moving. Let's move on. Yeah, I get it. D energy. Okay, we're moving to the next one. We're moving to I energy. Waiting for the lift while D is busy pushing that button. I, the influencer, is speaking with people. I has already mentioned how that scarf is amazing. Oh, that color really suits you. And they don't know that other person. And with another person, they have found out where the best coffee is in this area and where they had breakfast Sunday for lunch. So I is connecting and talking with all of these people. The lift goes up, D walks in, I follows. And I is just this ray of sunshine, talking, connecting. The bullet points we have here, it is about joy, fun. They take things lightly. They're very expressive. So you will see their face moving, you'll see hands moving. My joke is that if you tell an I person to sit on their hands and speak, I'm not sure they can. They're so used to expressing themselves. They love working with people. They're people. They go with the flow, they can join in, and they're optimists. They talk a lot. So emails will normally be long. Phone messages left will be long. And who doesn't like that? The D energy. But we'll get back also to all of that connection. So the sunny, talking, connecting I energy. There's often a lot of them in sales and other quite social functions. So put a name down. Who comes to mind in your network that has got the I energy? They were the two extroverted, so there's more happening, that they are showing the world a lot. We're now moving to the more introverted. We're going to the S energy, the steady energy. The lift is there, D and I are doing their things. S is just calmly walking into the lift. As S is in the lift and the doors are about to close, S notices that there's a person coming towards the lift that needs to get into the lift. So S just calmly puts their hand in the door so that that person can get in. Who gets really furious about this? D energy. They had places to go. They're already pushing that button. But S just calmly let these people in. Probably a smile, nothing big. They might not say a word, but they're just kindly letting that other person in. The bullet points for our steady energy, when we're in our steady energy, is we're very much focused on the steps. What are the steps? What needs to happen? They love doing lists and checking them off. They like being comfortable. So they like knowing the environment, what's happening next, what's happening tomorrow, what's the plan. They like that certainty. They like evidence from the past. So if D energy runs in and say, we got this great idea, let's do this, S will immediately see all the things that need to get done, and D will forget and just start running. S is the one that needs to see evidence. Why should we run there? Have we seen this work before? And we call S energy 3-time convincers. If S energy is looking at a watch, there's a watch they have thought of buying. They won't buy it immediately. They might see someone who's got it, then they might see an ad about it, then they might read a review. And at some point, enough time has passed and they get the watch. So you see how often those that are opposite in this grid react very differently. S energy is very caring. They say yes to everything, and often they get overwhelmed because they say yes and they end up catching all the balls that the rest are throwing up and not catching. We call them Mother Earth types, and this is men and women, but caring, know the steps that need to get done. So right now, think of a name. Who, and sometimes we're a mix, but just think who has got a lot of this, what I just explained. Someone in your network that is applying a lot of this S energy. And then we go to the last one, compliant. 4 people waiting for the lift. D and I are doing their important, busy things. S is caring, looking after everyone. And C, nobody notices C. C walks into the lift without blinking, without turning their head at all, They have calculated the average weight of everyone in the lift. Check the sign. They're not blinking. They haven't turned their head. Max 650 kilos in this lift. We're fine. They have also seen when the lift was last audited. We're all safe. So compliance, everything is happening on the inside. And if you don't ask, you may never know. So in your teams, there's a lot of gold that you might miss out on because you're too busy talking or running places. So the dot points we have here for the compliant energy is details and technical facts. It matters to get it right. And actually, a lot of doctors are naturally C energy. They have studied. They need to get facts right. It matters whether it's right or wrong. There's often as well IT and finance people. A lot of them find work where they can use their C compliance energy. They're normally more reserved. They analyze, they think things through. There's a lot happening inside. It's about precision. It's about getting it right. I energy would say, it's not about that. There's no right or wrong. Yes, there is, says C energy, because they're opposite I. They're naturally a pessimist. How can you not be when you constantly scan the whole world for dangers and things that the rest of them might have missed when you're that devil's advocate? So you can see everything that could go wrong. And that's great for the team to have someone spotting this. So that was an introduction of the four. Have a little moment and put down a name of someone that's got a lot of C energy. Great. And if there's an empty spot in one of the four, when you get into the groups, maybe you get a good idea from listening to some of the others, and you can add one there. We'll get to questions at the end, but are there any questions now before we go into the breakout rooms to learn a bit more about it? So we now get ready for our breakout room number 2. Same idea. And for those of you that have joined since, when you go into the breakout room, please turn on your microphone and camera so that you can have a conversation and learn for each other. What we'll do this time, we'll do a 10-minute breakout room where we again go around the table, but instead of favorite ice creams, each one of you have a minute or so to share. So right now, write these questions down yourself and take a moment to write down your answer as well. Question number 1. What's one thing you loved from learning about this DISC? 4 different personality types. What's the one thing you loved? 2. What's one thing you learned? There might be some aha or like, oh, penny dropped kind of moments. What's one thing you learned? Take a moment to write a few bullet points if you're D energy. And if you're I energy, you might have to do it a bit short just for tonight, otherwise you'll run out of time. So question one thing you loved. Question 2, one thing you learned. And then 3, what's one action you'll take this week? Because it might occur to you that there's something you never knew how to do or talk with a certain person, and suddenly you have an idea. It can be big and small things. It can be at home with your kids. Often that's where it starts. We think, oh, wow, that's what I'll try with my teenage insert here. So one thing you loved, one thing you learned, and one action you'll take this week. And again, if you haven't got an answer for all of them, it's all good. Some of the others in the room might have something they can share, and it gives you an idea. A little funny side story before we send you into the rooms, the D, I, S, and C. The opposites are the most different, and very often in partnerships, in marriage or relationships, we are together with people that are opposite ourselves. This is great because we can learn from each other, but as well, we can bring out, these opposite things in each other. And the little fun thing is often friendships or affairs are with people in the same room, because then you're like, oh, they understand me. So that was just a little fun fact to make you again think, who do you know that are in these 4 rooms? Great. Let's go into the breakout rooms. So you have about a minute each to share one thing you loved, one thing you learned, and one action you'll take this week. And then we'll come back out and do questions and answers where you can ask me more questions about the model as well. All 4 types are amazing. All 4 types have strengths. All 4 types have their challenges. Yes. So, no matter where you recognize yourself, and that's for those of you listening as well, everything has great value. We start recognizing the differences, then we can have more patience, understand where they're coming from. We can practice. It's like going to the gym. Instead of doing push-ups, you're practicing your S energy or you're practicing your C energy. If you're naturally I, it is so good for you to start practicing, not blinking, not smiling and encouraging everyone all the time. Like, just have a moment of letting them have the space to talk and tell. So there's so much learning from all types. Normally, as we're born, we have a tendency to be more into one energy than the other. Then there's lots of other factors in our life. There's genetics, there's our upbringing. There's so many things that impact whether we might go more in one direction than the other. Upon it, there's the presenting types, what we present to the world. And there might actually be another part, which sometimes is our true sense, but we don't think it's right or it's not suited. So that's another level. And then both C and S energy will naturally be more hesitant to share or show who they are. So you actually need to build up a lot of trust before they will start sharing. Here's a tip, actually. I will mention this one to all of you when you come back. If you're like, I'm not sure what I am, I'm a bit of this, I'm a bit of that. Think of yourself as a kid before you started school. When you were just a kid, what would be just a gut feel? Which of the 4 would be your natural energy when you're a kid? That very often helps you. Where did you start? Leaders, and this can be, doctors, it could be any leader. Very often we put on a role because we think that's how a leader should be. Very often we take on, this is how I should now behave because I have this. The more we can be ourselves, use our natural strength and that energy, and then just practice, as I said, go to the gym with all the other energies, but be true to your own thing. It comes across much better than if we try and be something else. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I hope that was a great experience in the breakout rooms. We had a little mini breakout room for those that couldn't join a room, and definitely there were some aha moments happening. So right now, we'd love for all of you to put in the chat one key insight you had about DISC. And Jana might read out a few. We won't mention any names because we're back into the big room and this recording is what will go on the watch on demand, but feel free to put insights you had, and Jana will just pick out a few of them.
Sure.
What is one key insight you had about DISC from tonight?
One of the insights is we're all different yet important in our own way.
Beautiful. Very well put.
Also, embrace your natural style, but learn from and respect other styles.
Great.
Take time to listen and understand others.
Take time. This was mainly for the D people in the room. Can we just say that? Sorry. Good.
Also, clarification. That's an insight.
Great.
And individuality.
Fantastic. I love this. And we could keep going. Like, this is something you can train in for years and years, but we really respect your time, so I'll keep moving as well. So taking action is really, really important, because it's great understanding something, but if we don't take action, nothing happens. So what I really encourage you to do now is take time and observe. Practice your own ability to recognize and respond with relevance. If you write one note from today, respond with relevance. That is key. Practice your own ability to respond with relevance to all 4 energy types. All 4 are powerful, as it was said, and diverse teams create better results. Please do not use it as labels and start calling your children and colleagues and everybody else for things and putting each other in boxes. Please use it for understanding, for patience, for curiosity. And then engage an external disc coach if you're really rolling it out with profiling and everything in your practice. So we'd love to hear now the last little thing in the chat. What's one action you'll take this week? From what disc has given you and opened your eyes to? What's one action, big or small, that you'll take this week? And thanks, Jana, for reading a few of them out.
Here's one. Take a breath to understand others' disposition.
Nice.
Being more mindful.
Yeah.
There was also an insight that they got a better understanding of different types of people and how
That's
that
it.
interaction works.
Yeah, that's right.
Action this week and onwards, be aware and understanding of others.
Yeah.
Don't have to agree, but being respectful.
Love that. We don't have to agree. We will never be exactly like that other person, but be respectful and get, yeah.
And here's a really good one. Stay clear of elevators.
I love humor. Take the stairs. It's good for the step count. And oh, that's funny. Thank you for that one. That's fabulous. You can keep the comments coming in the chat if you want to. What we'll do now is we will actually open for Q&A, which means that if any of you have a question, you can put up your hand and Jana can unmute you and we can hear your question, and I'm happy to answer some questions. And as well, you could put questions in the chat. Absolutely feel free to put questions in the chat. We'll see how many answers we can get through in the next 5 minutes, but absolutely any questions you have.
There was also a question in the middle of the webinar.
Yep.
So are these personality types evident from a very young age, 4 or 5 years?
Thank you for that question. In our breakout room, that did come up. If you're in doubt about your own, am I this or that? Think back to yourself as a child. Before you started school, that young child, what was your key energy? And I think that answers your question, that yes, it is definitely present, and very often more present when we're young. Those first, before school years, because when we start school, we learn a lot, but unfortunately we start looking at everybody else, what they do, and we start, oh, that's how you need to behave here. And we start putting on masks and filters and other ways of being because we think that's how you need to be in big school. So yes, definitely present from the start. And
no more questions for now?
No, that's good. I thought of one other that we had from the breakout room, that for you all, it's about being proud of your role. There's no right or wrong. I made fun of some of them more than others tonight. All 4 roles are really valuable. We all have access to that energy, and it's like going to the fitness center. So just like you would be in the fitness center, training your muscles, you can train your muscles in all 4 of these. It will make life easier for you and everybody around you, that you can recognize and reply with relevance no matter which kind of patient walks in that door, or which kind of person you have in your team, or the teenage kids at home. And the other one is, it's okay and be true to your preferred energy, because often if we try to be something else, it comes across as not right, or pretend that we're trying too hard. So really just accept and be okay with your natural state, and then get curious about learning the others. Beautiful. I think that's perfect. Thank you, all of you, for this. We've got a little survey, and Jana will put the link in the chat as well. Is that right, Jana? If you'd all
Yes.
now please take a minute, get out your phones and scan the QR code, or if you are on your phone, in the chat, Jana will post the link. Thanks for just clicking that now. It's a very quick 1-minute survey. And by you answering it, you help the future participants. That's a real S thing. Can you hear that? We care for the others. We do something because it will help others later. And you can give us ideas as well for other things you would like to learn about in the webinar. So we'll just give you a minute to answer those questions. While you do that, if there's any other questions, Jana, feel free to bring them on.
Sure, there was one. Is there a fun activity to do at our workplace?
A fun activity?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. The thing is, yeah, often you'd have to do this little short explanation. That being said, though, it's watch on demand. That bit I did about the actual model is about 20 minutes. So you could go and share the watch on demand, see it together with a team at a meeting, 20 minutes, and then you could definitely do some fun exercises afterwards. So if everybody watched this one, if you have an environment where you're happy to share, the first one is doing exactly what we did here. It's often a lot of fun that people need to have a guess. Where do you think your own preferred type is? Have a guess of others. And if it is a good group you have, that there needs to be trust so that it doesn't become pointing fingers and blaming. But it could be a patient, and again, it's to help all of us. Oh, that patient, it's D energy. That's why we can help them. Yeah. So that is actually a fun exercise. I know it will be at least half an hour, 20 minutes to watch it. And then a quick 10-minute round the table, note down where you think your own preferred style is, and mention one patient or colleague, supplier, anyone that you all see with a different energy, because that will start the learning. And then you could follow up a month later, where everybody would have started in the supermarket and everywhere to spot energies. You can do things where you go into different corners of the room, like everybody thinks they're D, go to that corner, I, S, and C, put the little letters on a piece of paper on the floor. You go to those corners and you'll suddenly be seeing in the opposite corner, oh no, Hannah, that's why we don't always get each other. So, whether you think it's fun or not, I think things like that is very much fun, and people often suddenly get a visual awareness of the differences. So thanks for that question as well. Beautiful. It is time to wrap up. So thank you for continuing, filling out the survey if you haven't quite finished it yet. But otherwise, we just want to say thank you. The recording will be up on our events web page, and Jana will send an email tomorrow when she's edited the video and shared with you all. There'll also in that email be a link to the PDF of the certificate for your 1 hour training here, where there was definitely both skills and reflection on outcomes. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll wrap this one up. You can continue filling out the survey, and we hope to see you back for another event. Have a lovely evening, all of you.